Hello there and welcome to Klever Stock.
Winstar core business revolves around this aluminium. Last year, we raised about 20 million ringgit Malaysia. 50% we used for the purchase 4 new extrusion machines.
Is it on track still? Is there any positive surprise that we could expect that we can be aware of?
We have observed some local customers. They are now shifting their purchase to local manufacturing.
We discovered that, Winstar is going to conduct another round of equity fundraising.
The company is obliged to issue 12.5% new shares for placement for Bumiputera investors.
Hello there and welcome to Klever Stock. My name is Ijok Islam. I've got a very special corporate feature interview for you lined up today. We have with us from Winstar Capital, Berhad, the Executive Director, Mr. Lee Yong-Tze. Welcome. How are you today and how does it feel?
Yeah, I'm fine. Hi, Juan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming to our studio for this corporate feature interview. Okay, so we'll get straight to it. Our first question. Since the first time, this is the first time, of course, that Klever Stock is interviewing you as the Executive Director of Winstar Capital. Maybe you can share with the audience a little bit about your core business for the company. What are the products that you manufacture and who are your major customers?
Okay, Winstar core business revolves around this aluminium. In terms of actually aluminium, you have upstream, midstream and the downstream. So Winstar is more involved in the midstream and the downstream. So we extrude the aluminium profiles, then also we cut all the profiles into all the sizes and assemble to end user products. We do also have trading of building materials such as these ironmongery, sealants, and also the accessories for the door and also the window.
Fantastic. So core business is more focused towards aluminium and also building materials. Fantastic. Okay, so my next question. We learned from your company's IPO prospectus as well as your annual report that your company was newly listed towards the end of 2024. Okay, maybe you can share with us a little bit about how much new equity funding was raised back then and what was the utilization of the IPO proceeds generally?
In the last year, actually we raised about 20 million ringgit Malaysia. Then 50% we used for the purchase 4 new extrusion machines, 30% for the working capital, and the remaining is used for listing expenses.
All right, so most of it, 50% for purchasing of new machines. So how has that been? Okay. Okay, since the IPO and since part of the IPO proceeds is used, to build your new factory as well, is the expansion to build 4 new aluminium extrusion production lines in the newly built factory, at Ijok, that remains, is it on track still? And is there any positive surprise that we could expect or any news that you can share that we can be aware of with regards to this?
Okay, at the moment, we are still in the process of obtaining the necessary approvals from the relevant authorities. All the preparation works for the installation and commissioning, we are ready for that. So once all the approval is obtained, then we can start for the installation and commissioning. So we targeted in Q1 2026, the machine can be running for two machine lines.
Okay, that's quite close by. I mean, that's within the next few months targeted. So hopefully the approval will come in within the next few months. Q1 right around the corner. And you're already 100% ready to start. Just need the approval, correct? Yes. Okay, so my next question will be focused more towards your global supply chain. What are the new opportunities that Winstar can capitalize on during this rebalancing of global supply chain, especially within the aluminium extrusion industry?
Okay, since 1st of December 2024, China's export tax rebate for aluminium products was cancelled. So local Malaysian manufacturing and Chinese manufacturer, they are at the same starting point now. So as a result, we have observed some local customers. They are now shifting their purchase to local manufacturing. So on the international front, the ongoing global supply rebalancing continues to benefit Malaysia because everybody is looking for China plus one. So the sourcing base, they will not only rely on one country like China. This trend has created, we receive more inquiries from Australia, Europe, for looking for reliable, high-quality aluminium extrusion partners outside China.
That's a very good opportunity, especially for Winstar, because Malaysia is one of the ASEAN or Southeast Asian countries that is also quite strong in this regard. So apart from China, there's also Malaysia and other Southeast Asian countries. Hopefully that will benefit you in the long run as well. Yeah. Okay, so this next question is a little bit towards your equity fundraising, okay? In less than 1 year after listing, because towards the end of 2024, right, you listed, we discovered that, Winstar is going to conduct another round of equity fundraising again. Okay, so why is that? Why is Winstar Capital required to issue 12.5% new shares for placement for Bumiputera investors? Can you explain to us that?
Okay, so our company had met the main market listing requirement after the company has achieved the adjusted profit after tax of 10 million for 2024 financial year. As a result, the company is obliged to issue 12.5% new shares for placement for Bumiputera investors to comply with the Bumiputera equity requirement.
Okay, so it's all about compliance with Bursa Malaysia Securities, which is a good thing. I mean, because you have already reached that milestone, reached your targets, you're now being, how can I say, rewarded, I guess. Okay, my next question, in terms of what will be the enlarged issue share capital after issuing about 41.45 million new shares? How do you address the issue of earnings per share dilution? This is quite important because now you've got new shares. Okay, so how do you address that issue, earnings per share dilution?
So after the new share issuance, our share quantity will increase from 290 million to 331 million, which there will be a share dilution around 12.5% share at the end of 2025. But this impact can be well managed. Why? For example, in the first half of 2025, we recorded a profit after tax 6.05 million compared to the same period in 2024, 3.67. So there's about 65% gap year on year. So looking at the full year, our target is approximately 30% growth. So from 200 million to around 260 million. So if, let's say, we say the profit margin can be maintained at 5%, our earnings growth should be around 30%. So which means that we can offset the dilution.
That's good, that's good. If you're going to be issuing new shares, I'm sure you will also be getting more profit after tax in the next few years. Okay, awesome. So now, what is the indicative new share price? How much new equity funding is going to obtain from issuing that of the 41.45 million new shares? Okay, so what is the new share issue price that you are targeting?
Based on the EGM circular, the indicative new share issuance price is fixed at 56 cents. That is derived from the assumption a discount approximately 3.35% is given to the Bumiputera investor based on the 5-day volume weight average market price of 57.94 cents up to 29th of August 2025. By issuing 41 million new shares, is able to create close to around 23 million new funding for the company.
Okay, so that's great news. You're going to be raising about 23 million ringgit from this equity fundraising exercise, based of course on your indicative new issue share price. Okay, so tell me a bit about in details, like what is that 23 million ringgit going to be used for? Maybe share a little bit of details about the 23 million ringgit.
For around 98% of the fund raised will be used for this working capital. So most of them will be using to purchase billets. So these billets are one of the most major raw materials that we use throughout the years. So for the balance, 0.5 million is allocated to for the estimate expenses for the listing fundraising exercise, so which includes all these professional fees, regulator fees.
Fantastic. Okay, so 98% going to be working capital, focused on billets, which is a good thing. Okay, assuming, of course, that this your company is able to successfully raise that 23 million ringgit, by the end of December 2025, how does this fundraising exercise affect Winstar Capital's gearing ratio, as well as their net asset per share, and also the shareholding structure? How will this affect those three things?
If Winstar successfully raised 23 million by the end of December 2025, our financial position will strengthen. So based on our latest audited results at 31st December 2024, our net assets per share will increase from 34 cents to 37 cents, showing improved shareholder value. Our gearing ratio will drop from 1.06 times to 0.86 times. So as total equity rises from 98.6 million to 121.3 million, meaning we will be less depending on borrowings.
Fantastic. Great initiative and great things upcoming for Winstar Capital. Hopefully this fundraising exercise becomes successful over the next month. Okay, what are the business opportunities in the upcoming financial year while your company is gradually deploying the newly raised equity funds? What are the opportunities that we're looking for, especially in the next financial year?
Our company actually is quite concentrate on construction and also these renewable energy mounting structures. So in the economic outlook report released by the Ministry of Finance indicates that the construction sector remains resilient, so with a forecast growth of 9.4%. So in 2025, the statistic Malaysia shows that from the January to June 2025, there is a increase of 12.9% of the total value of construction work done compared to January to June 2024. So it indicates that a robust and also expansion in construction line. For these solar projects, there is newly launched LSS 5 and 5 Plus. In terms of these EPCC project size, it is talking about 10 to 12 billion ringgit Malaysia. So in terms of the solar mounting structure, we use a simple calculation about 5%. So it will be around 500 to 600 million ringgit Malaysian market shares for mounting structures itself. Mounting structures is the brackets that install all these solar panels to it. So on top of that, we also can collaborate together with the EPCC players to become their subcon to do some installation in the EPCC projects.
Fantastic. Okay, just following up on this, the LSS scheme phase 5 and 5 plus that you mentioned just now, right? The large scale solar scheme phases. How much is the estimate contract value able to secure by solar renewable EPCC players in Malaysia? You mentioned around 5 billion, something like that. So, how is Winstar going to benefit from this $1 billion value of solar PV renewable energy industry in Malaysia over, let's say, the next 2 to 3 years? How are you guys going to capitalize on this investment?
Because in terms of the project size, we are talking about 500 million to 600 million on the this mounting structure itself only. So in the previous years, we are only doing about a few million only for these things. So there are very huge room for us to grow in these industries.
Definitely, from a few million to 100 million, that's definitely room to grow for Winstar Capital. Okay, so as our closing remarks, what is the one or two key takeaways that you'd like to share with your investors, to remember your company by, and before we end the interview today, what is it that you'd like to say to your investors right now?
Okay, our exposure currently is more to construction and also renewable energy. But actually aluminium itself can involve in different sectors. For example, semiconductors, EV, this industrial. According to the IMR report, the project growth rate for aluminium extrusions market in Malaysia is approximately 8% growth. So which will be around 4.7 billion market share in 2028. Currently, we are only around 100 to 200 million, which means we are only capture a very small portion of the huge market segment. So there is a lot of improvement for Winstar.
Definitely a lot of room for improvement for Winstar, but with that 8% growth rate as well as the 4.7 billion market share, I think you guys will definitely have a lot to bite on over the next few years. But we're hoping for the best for Winstar Capital. Hopefully, like you mentioned earlier, your equity fundraising is a success and you can use that working capital, 98% for your working capital, as well as to purchase all those billets. But thank you again for joining us today and sharing with us a little bit about your corporate updates. That's all from myself, Wanis Al-Islam, right here on Klever Stock. We have ourselves the Executive Director from Winstar Capital, Berhad, Mr. Lee Yong Tze. Thank you for having us and thank you for coming today.
Okay, thank you, Wan. Thank you.
Scan now and download Klever Stock, your trusted source for market insights.